Genesis 42. Remember, now Joseph is in charge of Egypt. A long time ago, when he was just a boy and wearing a coat, colorful robe, he had two dreams. They both made his brothers mad, and his father had to think about what his dreams meant. One was that his sheath, he said that he had a dream where he and his brothers were sheathing, they're taking wheat and putting it like this and then tying them up. And then their sheaths bowed to his sheath. I mentioned that what he would do would be greater than what his brothers would ever do. And then in the second dream, the sun, moon, and the stars all bowed to him, to Joseph. So, I guess that's what it means, God made Joseph second in command to Pharaoh of Egypt. Let's think about that. What does that mean? The sun, the moon, and the stars all bow to Joseph. You know what I think it means? It's a very enigmatic meaning. Because Egyptians, they didn't really believe in a creator. Invisible, Egyptians were kind of strange. Like they thought, there's a sun, right? So either the sun's a god, or there's a sun god. And I'll call him Ra, for example. And then the moon. That moon is a goddess. So either that moon is a goddess or there's a moon goddess. And let's look up who that might be. Egyptian moon goddess. It is someone called Isis, but I think they believed in the moon god is Khonsu. So forget Isis, the dumbest some think voice. So they're like, we believe in Ra and Khonsu, and the stars are. All the other guys, there was some guy Osiris, and they had a bunch of them, like Horus, this hot guy, and there's this Jekyll guy, Set, the sneaky face guy, people might know Set. Those are like the stars. So what Joseph made now, when he was the Prince of Egypt now, he said, my God is greater than Ra and Khonsu and all those other dudes. So now Jacob, Joseph's father, remember everyone around Egypt has to go to Egypt for grain. Jacob's like, we're starving. Go to Egypt and buy food. So 10 of Joseph's brothers, not Benjamin, because Benjamin's too little, went to Egypt. And Joseph was the governor, and he sold grain to people. When Joseph's brothers got there, they bowed to him, and as soon as he saw his brothers, he pretended to be a stranger and spoke harshly to them. Where do you come from? He asked. From the land of Canaan, they replied. We want to buy food. I heard you're the guy who sells food. Then, although Joseph recognized his brothers, they did not recognize him. Then he remembered his dreams about them and said to them, "You are spies. You have come to see where our land is unprotected." Then they said, No. You just came to buy food. We're not a bunch of spies. We are all brothers, the sons of one man. We are not spies. We're not lying." And then Joseph said, No. You have come to see. You are spies. But they said, No. We are 12 brothers. The son of one man, the youngest is with our father, and one is dead, one is no more. Joseph said to them, It is just as I told you. You are spies. I will test you. Don't leave this place until your youngest brother comes here. Send one of you to get your brother. I want to see if you're lying, if you have another brother. And the rest of you be put in prison. If you're not telling the truth, surely as Pharaoh lives, you are spies. Then he put them in prison for 3 days. On the third day, he said to them, Do this and you will live, for I fear God. If you're honest, one of you stay here in prison, and the rest of you can go and take grain for your starving households. But you must bring your youngest brother to me, so your words may be verified, and that the one brother in prison will not die. They said to one another, Surely we are being punished because of what we did to Joseph. That's why, this is the reason this is happening to us. Reuben, the oldest brother, said, Didn't I tell you not to sin against the boy, but you wouldn't listen? Now we must give an accounting for his blood. They did not realize that Joseph could understand them, since he was using an interpreter. He turned away from them, Joseph did, and began to weep. He sort of put his hand down. And he came back and he spoke to them. He had Simeon taken from them and bound, tied, right before them. Joseph gave orders to fill their bags with grain, to put each man's silver back in his sack. So they came to buy grain with silver, and he said, No, I don't want your silver. And he gave them provisions for their journey. After this was done for them, they loaded their grain on their donkeys and left. At the place they stopped for the night, one of them opened his sack. A sack is a bag, to feed his donkey, and he saw the silver that he thought he paid for the grain. And he said, My silver has been returned. Their hearts sank, and they turned to each other, trembling. What is this that God has done to us? When they came to their father, Jacob, they told him everything that had happened. The man who is Lord over the land, that's Joseph, spoke harshly to us and treated us as though we were spies. We told him we are not spies. We are 12 brothers and sons of one father. One is dead, and the youngest is with our father. Then the man who is Lord over the land said, This is how I know you are not lying. I will hold one of your brothers, and you go. I will give you food to go, and bring your youngest brother to me, so I know you are not spies. Then I will give your brother, that's, I think it's Simeon, back to you, and you can trade in the land. Then the governor said, If I know you're not spies, then not only can you come here for food, you could come here to do business. As they were emptying their bags, in each man's bag was his pouch of silver. When they and their father saw the money pouches, they were frightened. Their father Jacob said to them, "You have deprived me of my children. Joseph is dead. Simeon is imprisoned. And now you want to take Benjamin. Everything is against me." Then Reuben, the oldest, said to his father, "You may put both of my sons to death if I do not bring Benjamin back to you. Entrust him to my care, and I will bring him back." But Jacob said, remember, Jacob is Joseph's father and the father of 12 brothers. "My son will not go down there with you. Benjamin will not go with you. His brother is dead, and he is the only one left of..." Remember when Joseph and Benjamin is Joseph. Joseph is the prince of Egypt. When his mother Rachel gave birth to his brother Benjamin, that Joseph wants to see his brother, she actually died during childbirth. So Jacob is saying, he's the only one left out of Rachel and Joseph and Benjamin, because he has 4 wives. He thinks that Joseph is dead, his wife, and then he's like, Benjamin's the only one. "If harm comes to him on the journey you are taking, you will bring my gray head down to the grave in sorrow." That is Genesis 42. Let's go on to Genesis 43, which is titled "The Second Journey to Egypt." So the famine was so terrible. And Judah said, "The man warned us solemnly, you will not see my face unless your brother is with you." So Israel, that's Jacob, "Why did you bring this trouble on me by telling the man you had another brother?" They replied, "The man questioned us closely. He asked, 'Is your father still living? Do you have another brother?' We simply answered his questions. How are we to know?" He would say, "Bring your brother here," or to Egypt. Then Judah said to Israel, his father, that's Jacob again, "Send the boy along with me, and we will go at once, so that we and you and our children may live and not die. I myself will guarantee his safety. You can hold me personally responsible for him." So 2 of his sons are trying to reassure his father that their father, that Benjamin will be safe. Then their father Israel said, "If it must be, then do this. Put some of the best products of our land in your bags and take them to this man, the governor, as a gift: a little balm, a little honey, some spices and myrrh, some pistachio nuts and almonds. Take double the amount of silver with you, for you must return the silver that was put back in your bags. Perhaps it was a mistake. Take your brother and go back at once, and may God Almighty," that's El Shaddai, "grant you mercy before the man, so that he will let your other brother and Benjamin come back with you. As for me, I am bereaved." So the men, that's the brothers, took the gifts and the silver and Benjamin. They hurried to Egypt and presented themselves to Joseph. So you have to imagine, Joseph is very angry at his brothers. now that he's really someone, he really is in a position to hurt them back. When Joseph saw Benjamin, he said to the steward of his house, to one of his servants, "Take these men to my house and prepare a meal. They are to eat with me at noon." So the servant took the men to Joseph's house, and they were not quite frightened. It says here the men were frightened, but they're like, what's going on? They're going to Joseph's house. They thought, we were brought here because of the silver. He wants to attack us and make us his slaves and maybe take our donkeys. So they went up to Joseph's servant and said, we beg your pardon. We came down here to buy food, and we found silver that we thought we paid you, and so we have brought it back. We also have more silver to buy more food. We don't know who put our silver in our bags. It's all right. Don't be afraid. Joseph's servant told him, "Your God, the God of your father, has given you treasure in your sacks. I received your silver." I don't think he was lying. Wow, that's kind of unusual. A miracle. So I don't know. I don't think Joseph's servant would lie to his brothers. Because remember, Joseph is the one that sells the food to people. So his servant would know, if they were paid for the grain. So he said, no, we took your money. I'm not a liar, and I don't think you're lying, sons of this Israel guy. But if you say that every bag of grain had your money, your silver put back, like you got them for free, but no, we took your money, so your God must materialize silver. Then Joseph's servant freed Simeon and brought Simeon to his brothers. The steward, who was Joseph's servant, took the men into Joseph's house and gave them water to wash their feet and provided fodder for their donkeys, feed for their donkeys. They prepared their gifts. So the brothers, remember the brother's father, Israel or Jacob, said, bring gifts to the man, the governor of Egypt, Joseph. So the brothers, they still don't know Joseph is, the governor is their brother. They're ready to give gifts to Joseph at noon because they're going to eat at noon. So Joseph came home, and his brothers presented to him the gifts, and they bowed down and said, they probably said something like, let me see. I'm an expert in Hebrew culture. They probably said something like, greetings. And then Joseph asked them, "How are you?" And then he asked, "How is your father, the father you told me about? Is he still living?" They replied, "Our father is alive and well." And they bowed down again, prostrating themselves before him. So he bowed twice. As he looked about and saw his brother there, Benjamin, his own mother's son, he asked the brothers, "Is this your youngest brother?" And he said, "God be gracious to you, my son." Deeply moved at the sight of his brother, Joseph hurried out and looked for a place to be alone. He went into his private room. After he had washed his face, he came out and, controlling himself, he said, "Serve the food." They served him by himself, the brothers by themselves, and the Egyptians who ate with him by themselves, because Egyptians could not eat with Hebrews. Egyptians could not eat with Hebrews, for that is detestable to Egyptians. The men had been seated before him in the order of their ages, from the firstborn to the youngest, and they looked at each other in astonishment. When portions were served to them from Joseph's table, Benjamin's portion was 5 times as much as anyone else. So they feasted and drank freely with him. That is Genesis 43. Remember, maybe if you have been watching many videos, Joseph, when he wept, his face was looking downward. I think sometimes he needed to talk to God, or God, the Creator, the one true God, or his Kadosh Malachim. But just as he did that, you can meditate and think about these stories about these heroes of faith. Now, how can what they learned, or what they went through, can you learn the same thing, or without making mistakes? Or can you go through what they went through, and you could say, if they went through it and they made it, I can make it too. So put God first.